The thing is with 15-minute talks, besides what Ted is trying to tell you, it's actually quite short of time. So this is where I'm actually trying to be very aware of the time. So this is why I have my own timer. Thank you very much. It's good to see that the presentation works. My name is Johannes. Here's all the stuff that you need to find more about what I do, because it would actually take me more than 15 minutes to explain all the stuff that I do. I'm here today to tell you a bit about wearables, because they're also somehow connected to data, and it should be part of a data conference, and we all care about them. So in the last years, we had a lot of talk about our wearables is going to be this big thing. And like, if you remember, like CES, the big consumer electronics fair, like 2 years ago, was like exploding. Wearables was the big topic, and we would all walk around with a lot of devices and gadgets on our body. So where we are today, did it come about where we are? And I think it was best summed up by this Tumblr. We put a chip on it, .tumblr.com. Highly recommend you check it out. And they basically sum up the whole industry like this. It was just a dumb thing. Then we put a chip in it. Now it's a smart thing. And they have quite a point. So this blog collects smart things. And it tells you a lot that it's 2015. And I have to use air quotes whenever I use the term smart, because we have this interesting point where technology basically created a whole product category. So we have really cheap sensors that we can basically put into everything. We have data connections. It's super easy to connect the device to Wi-Fi or actually to the mobile network. And we all carry around smartphones, which are basically external screens to gadgets. And so all of a sudden, we have all these smart devices. We have smart socks. We have smart pans, like the frying pans that are connected to your smartphone to tell you if it's cooking too hot or something like that. We have all these things that are that now all of a sudden have chips in it, and it's not really quite figured out now why are they actually smart, just because they have a data connection. So this blog collects a lot of these examples of, in my opinion, really stupid things that are not really smart, but they just have a chip in it. And one of my favorite examples is the smart cock ring. That's right. There's such a thing as a smart cock ring. It's a cock ring. I really hope I don't have to explain to you the concept of this. It has a chip in it. It actually tracks you as a guy having sex. It afterwards tells you how many calories you've burned, with what speed you've thrusted, things like that. It will actually make recommendations of positions to use next time because of your style. They're really proud of their so-called booty call feature. So you're obviously not carrying around the lovely cock ring with you everywhere. But it's connected to your smartphone. So you actually have the possibility, and it's like one of the typical things they show on their Kickstarter video. They show how the guy sits at work at the desk, and then he's like very horny, and then pushes a button on the app that comes with Lovely, and that sends a signal to his girlfriend, who's lazily sitting at home. I mean, like the whole gender issues that are already in this video, and she gets a signal that he's very horny and that she should prepare for him coming over for a booty call. I mean, there's the one thing that really gives me a little bit of hope about humanity is that this project on Kickstarter didn't even make it past 50% of their funding goal. So. But then again, they ended with, we didn't reach our goal, but we got a venture capitalist who is interested in funding it. It's like, yeah, it's all going to burn. So this is like one example. I think the best way to sum up where we are with wearables in 2015 is this tweet by Intel UK. And they say, want to see the game from an athlete's point of view? The wearable shirt from First Vision makes it so. Here is an industry leader using the term wearable shirt without a hint of irony. A wearable shirt? So, I mean, that's basically where we are right now. We have a lot of technology and the whole industry trying desperately to find a problem to solve with that. And they're doing everything they can. And like the fitness trackers, the Fitbits, the Withing, pulses and all of that, they are one typical example of that. They're trying to use this technology to tell you about your health. And I've been doing this for a couple of times, and every one of you who has already used one of those devices knows that they all have a long-term motivation problem. Because after 4 to 6 weeks, you actually know how many steps you're taking throughout the day. And our days are not that interesting, so we all know how many steps we've been taking. And they're trying really hard to find an actual problem to solve that will keep people motivated in using their devices. So they come up with all kinds of tried intelligence. So they tell you, like, set a goal for you to lose weight, set a goal to be more active, and then we'll tell you from week to week if you got into your goal or things like that. They're trying to be really smart and failing hardly at that. Here are 2 examples of friends of mine. First one is from Dan Hon. So he has a Wi-Fi scale, one of those typical Wi-Fi scales from Withings. He has it at home, and he has this whole family registered in that Wi-Fi scale, so that the scale knows, okay, these are like the 3 different persons using the scale, and his 2-year-old son really enjoys stepping on that scale. So one day he gets an email from Withings saying, and by the way, Calvin is his 2-year-old son, so it's your hard work will pay off, Calvin. Don't be discouraged by last week's result. We believe in you. Let's set a weight goal to help inspire you to shed those extra pounds. So that poor 2-year-old Calvin actually gained almost 2 pounds last week. And oh man, as we know, like 2-year-olds and obesity it's like a huge problem. I mean, these are the things, like where you see Withings desperately trying to use algorithms to appear smart and to like seem like that good fitness companion, and completely losing any of the complexity that is our daily lives. And they know that Calvin is 2 years old because Dan told them in the settings, but from the programming perspective, they just didn't think about that. Here's another example for my friend Martin, where his Withings watch basically then told him, okay, you've been sleeping an average of 6.5 hours per night. You should really try to add another 1.5 hours per night to like reach that goal. What Withings doesn't know is that Martin had a baby 2 months ago, and actually is very proud of his 6.5 hours of sleep per night. Once again, something of that where Withings tries to appear really smart and failing hardly by that, by just not understanding the context it can in. The problem here is not that Withings is basically tracking steps and that they are tracking sleep time and things like that. The problem is that Withings pretends that this is actually a good measurement about health. That they somehow had decided, and that by just tracking your steps, you actually know a lot about how healthy you are. So they just, instead of saying, okay, you had this many steps, they're saying you have been this healthy or unhealthy, and you should really go to these, trying to reach these goals. And that is one of those really big problems that we're seeing right now with fitness trackers and wearables, that they're trying to pretend to be smarter than they are, and they're trying to do something that Adorno called abstract authority. They're trying to make you think, like with everything that they're trying to make you think that they have the authority to tell you how healthy or not you are in your life. Because that's how they hope that you will actually use them. And that is a huge problem that we then also see. And there's a couple of other problems that we have. Yesterday I read an interesting article that got me to the conclusion that the history of the quantified self as a business is actually a history of data leaks and hacks. So there have been so many examples of Withings and others actually by accident publicizing quantified self data on the web, and people like finding out about steps from others, and it's a huge issue. So there's all these different problems that we're seeing right now. It's really interesting then, we're just starting to getting some research about how people actually feel about their Fitbit and their tracking devices. So these guys asked 200 women who wore Fitbit activity trackers about how they feel about the tracker. So they, one of the reactions on the one side, they said, so we were particularly interested in finding out how women relate to their Fitbit. 68% saw them as a friend. Reaching the daily targets creates feelings of happiness, so okay, self-satisfaction, pride, all large numbers. But on the other hand, when we asked the women how they felt without their Fitbit, many responded feeling naked, and then the activities they completed were wasted. So why should I do 10,000 steps today if I forgot my Fitbit at home? You see, it's really interesting how these relationships to this technology are. Many felt under pressure to reach their daily targets. 30% felt that Fitbit was an enemy. It's really fascinating to see these insights. So basically what we have here is an industry, a product category in its infancy. It's very young, it's full of errors, full of problems. This is completely normal. This has always been the case with all new product categories. The problem is that we are in a time when people are really crazy about technology and about the promises of technology. So what's happening right now is that people take these very half-assed products and trying to actually make meaning of that. And especially health insurers. Health insurers are crazy about fitness trackers. They really want you to upload the data from your fitness tracker to them so that they can give you premiums if you've been really smart about your health. So here's Volker Schmidt from CSS, which is one of the Switzerland's biggest health insurers, who and they're doing a pilot project. And he says, given the increased cost of healthcare, we will inevitably have to promote individual responsibility in order to strengthen solidarity between insurance people. I think it's only insurance people who have it in them to use the word individual responsibility and solidarity in the same sentence. I mean, it's like, this is basically neoliberalism has won. So, and this is such a huge problem. The other problem with that is that we're seeing the first law cases where Fitbit and other tracker data is actually used as evidence for somebody sued someone and they're using their steps data as evidence in that court case, not thinking at all about that this might actually be a problem. Because in the end, right now, if you do something like this, you actually think that a Fitbit or a Withings can give you insight about the health behavior of a person, you're just really, really naive. And I'm thinking that actually the health insurer is going to be really surprised how positive people will react to them offering those data plans, because there's nothing easier to fake as health data. This is a project by a couple of artists who said, okay, if in the future I can save money by uploading my data, how can I create that data? And the fun thing is, the health insurers can do nothing about that because they don't own the hardware or the software to go along with that. So this is, I think, where we have this huge problem right now in the wearables industry, that they pretend to be capable of doing something that they actually is super easy to fake, and others believing them. And that's why I think it's what Ella says here, how we talk about technology affects systems that get built. This is our big, big challenge right now, and this is what I want to challenge us on, to actually be very aware how we talk about the opportunities of big data, of wearables, where they are right now, and be very mindful of actually the consequences in society that come from that. So if you ask me, like, okay, one thing we can do, I'm going to give you that. Here's a quote from Nick Smith from the Future Everything in Singapore. He said this thing: for every data scientist, we need to hire an ethnographer. And I think that's like, if you ask me one thing that we should do, this is it. Thank you very much. Pleasure.